Hello, hello.
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello. Welcome to This Week in Quality. This is now my podcast mode. This is the mode I kind of go into when I start talking to people for Into the Multiverse. And it's funny to see myself go into that mode. But yeah, welcome to This Week in Quality, also known as TWiC.
Well, Rosie,
Oh,
this
oh
is
my God. I
absolute
did.
classic. So, for
Oh my
listeners who are unfamiliar with
God.
the stuff that we're up to in the Multiverse, we have a weekly get together called This Week in Quality. So, TWiQ. And that's been around for ages. We've been doing it about 3 years, iterated in many different ways. So we thought, let's set up This Week in Community. But it's so natural for us to say This Week in Quality. That's brilliant.
I was actually writing a post on LinkedIn just a few minutes ago, just so that people can see this in 3 weeks' time. And I was typing out This Week in Quality by accident, but I guess you
Brilliant.
can't delete that live. But this is This Week in Community, also known as TWiC. It's our first episode. And very much building upon our work of This Week in Quality, as Simon has mentioned, where we've been gathering for, I can't remember the last episode number, but it's in the hundreds
It's a
now,
lot,
115, 16, 17, something like that.
38 or 738,
Is it,
I think,
is
off
it
the top
already
of my
that?
head. I'm not checking, but
Yeah.
that's just from my memory. Yeah.
As you can see, we didn't really plan what we were going to say, so we didn't. If we had, we would have written down the numbers. But yeah, so 130 so episodes is what, 3 years almost worth of experimentation, and it's evolved. We were looking back the other day at how it's evolved, and it's kind of funny, but yeah.
It is, and back then, because I think it's a relevant story for what we're doing today on this first episode of This Week in Community, is that it's evolution, right? And we have to iterate on stuff, and that's how we've got to the success of This Week in Quality. Going to really struggle with those two words, and it, we didn't record back then. It was just a conversation that people would join. There was no video. It was just audio. We were using this tool that was very sketchy and didn't work that reliably. We didn't really talk about it much, and a few people would show up, and it built momentum. It changed name. We changed the tool that we hosted it on. We've eventually turned on video. That happened last week as of the time of recording, which is very exciting. But also, turning that into a podcast and allowing people to come back to it later, well, that kind of, as the original host, put pressure on, like, oh my goodness, this is going to be on record. We just kind of eventually got over that. And for our community members, it was interesting because people would build real confidence and have built up real confidence coming up on stage to share what their week has been like. People can hang out in the chat. So for those joining us today, if you don't want to join us on stage, just share stuff in the chat, right? Tell us what you've been up to, how your week in community has been. We can read that out for people who are going to listen back to this on YouTube, which we'll eventually end up on. So yeah, it's just a way for us to gather and to reflect on a week, discuss some things that we've seen in the world of community. So what other community professionals are up to, stuff that's happening outside of our industry that might be relevant to what we're up to. So yeah, Rosie, you do a great job every week with your Rosie Land Roundup, where you go and curate or collect a load of interesting articles, talks, all of that stuff. So we might use some of that as well to bring into the conversation and just see where we go.
Yeah. So let's go. And I guess, like, as part of that whole process as well, we've been talking about doing something like this for quite a while, at least a few months, I would say. We've been like, should we do it? Should we do it?
Yeah.
And we never quite committed to doing it, like making that decision. And I think sometimes you just have to make the decision. And we have a saying internally, is that just go for it. So this is what we're doing. We're just going for it. We haven't planned too much up front. We got simple pages up. We've now got a newsletter. We'll sort out the YouTube after this, I suppose. We'll figure that part out. But really, it's, this is community, right? This is figuring stuff out. This is focusing on efficiencies and the operations of things, and how can we do better, or how can we improve as we go. And that's, I guess, the intentions is like, we just want to show up and chat, really. And from doing This Week in Quality, and even me doing Into the Motiverse, which is a podcast that I do for the Motiverse, the clues in the name, I guess. All of these conversations have kind of built up our confidence, and has, helped us develop relationships, helped us gain better understanding of our people. And I guess when we look at the community space, I just feel like it's lacking at the moment. There's a gap to do something, and that's simply what we're doing. We want to talk, we want to meet people, we want to explore ideas, and we think we're just going to show up every week, and we hope people will show up with us in the side chat, jump on stage. It's very friendly. I know it's scary at first, but actually once you start doing it, as we have done in This Week in Quality, it's been great. People have been really nervous at first to jump on stage, but then they do it and they realize it's actually okay. And then some of them have become hosts.
Yes.
And that's you, Judy, in the chat. She's a great example of that as well. So yeah, we'll basically see where it goes. But also, let's geek out about community, because that's something Simon and I could just talk all day about.
We get nothing done, but we managed to still get stuff done. Yeah.
Because originally I was like, do I do this on my own, because I don't want to add anything more to Simon's plate. But then I'm like, oh, it's not fun if I do it on my own. And getting something started, especially like at the beginning, it's going to be slow. Not many people know about it, so at least we can lean on each other for conversational rants or inspiration.
Yeah, totally. I think you make an interesting point about like being nervous. So, speaking openly and honestly, I still get nervous hosting This Week in Quality. Every week there'd be this pang of like, oh my goodness, what's going to happen? Because it is an unknown. Anyone could rock up, anyone could come up on stage and say something, and it's how do we deal with that? And there has been times in the past where there's been some difficult conversations had, and that kind of role as facilitator that we often play as community professionals. Like, you have to find a way to, of course, allow people to voice what they want to share. But if things kind of get into a more of a heated debate, it's being mindful of like finding a way to bring the conversation back to some calm. But that's only ever happened a couple of times. But I don't really fear that. It's more like, are people going to show up? Are people going to be interested in coming up on stage and sharing? Are people going to be active in the chat and stuff like that? We're definitely okay with that with This Week in Quality, but who knows what's going to happen with This Week in Community, and that's why we're doing it. The only way is to really find out. And I think to your point about earlier that you made about us umming and ahhing, I know, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, you mentioned it in passing again, like, oh, I really need to start this, like, and I was just like, let's just do it. Like, let's just go for it. Right. And it was like, yeah. And you were like, yeah, but I don't want to put more on your plate. It's like, well, we'll work it out. And Like, it doesn't feel like, amplifying your point from earlier on, it doesn't feel like there's this space for community professionals to get together and just have a proper chit chat, wherever you are in the world. Hopefully this time of day works for different time zones. We just want to see what's possible. Like, there's stuff, we can see stuff being shared on LinkedIn that's kind of interesting. In other spaces, various community type conferences and events happening. But this one's more of like an informal, just show up and share something. And it's great. We can see people in the chat already. So hello to Lori Goldman. Also hello to Judy, as Rosie's mentioned. Judy Mosley is part of the crew. And I see, Lori, you have been working on blog posts and my website. All right. I'd love to find out a bit more about that. If you're up for chatting about it, what that experience has been like, what that means, what kind of your goals are with working on your blog posts and website, what things you're writing about. Be very interested to hear.
So here's an interesting point of discussion, I guess. Something that just aligns with. I see Lori's come on stage, so we'll bring her on in a moment, which is cool, exciting, first ever guest. But just thinking about TWiC, or just gathering over conversation and how that can be community. And I guess like the more we've done TWiC, the more I've just personally just like been talking to people, I've discovered like the conversations have so much more depth than things other forms of communications, like like the Slacks or the forums. It's just like a much easier way to gain depth and understanding quickly and to the point and in a very human way. And I guess in the AI world as well is that you can't fake it, right? Technically maybe there are ways to do it, but these are real conversations, and there is no AI slop here. That you can't have that, right? And perhaps that's the way that community needs to change, is because of all the AI type slop and boundaries we have to put in place. That how we gather together needs to change in a way that feels more meaningful. And this is perhaps just like one example of how it's happening, and I love it personally. But
and sorry just to add to that, if I can, I know, Lori, we appreciate you waiting patiently backstage. We do see you and we do want to get you up on stage, of course. Because like, I guess within our community, so our community is a community of practice for tech professionals, and people will often traditionally follow a route where they kind of start participating. They might share some thoughts or comments on a forum. They may then start like joining events. They might even run, like, say, a masterclass or a webinar. And then they may end up on stage at a conference. And that could be a typical path, even though that's kind of oversimplifying it. But that kind of pressure for someone, a community member, to jump up on stage and prepare for that, and they get 20 minutes up on stage and that's it, and they've done it way, they've had to be selected way in advance, and it's months until the real deal. This feels like the kind of sessions like this, conversations like this, can be as valuable, right? Where people have that conversation and they express themselves in a way where they are articulating their thoughts in real time, like I'm doing now. It's really powerful, and it doesn't have to be that people have to wait for the big stage, so to speak, to do that. And we love the fact that that can happen in the Motiverse, the community that we're part of. It's great to have that. Lori, welcome.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes,
can hear you, Lori. Yeah.
Okay,
How's your week in community been?
It's been very busy, but good. I'm really trying hard to I've had a series of blog posts in my brain for a long time, and just haven't been able to articulate them. And now I've got that going, and I'm having a couple colleagues review them. So I'm excited about that. I'm just going to I'll talk about AI eventually, but really what I want to solve, I want to just untie some Gordian knots. How about that?
Yeah.
There's some outstanding um, issues that we face all the time, namely, why don't people understand community? And why is there such a disconnect between those of us who truly get it, for whom it seems as natural as breathing, and other folks who just don't get it at all. So I've almost got that done, and I'm having a colleague review it, and I've got a couple other ones, and then I'll start talking about AI and that. And I'm also been trying to get a website up for years, and this is my time to do it. So yeah, that's what's going on with me.
I love it, Lori.
It's great to have you here, Lori. And for context, we've been in touch over the years. I can't
Yes.
remember when it was, but through my Rosie Land stuff,
Yes.
we've
Yes.
you
I'm a
know
fan.
had. So it's very cool that you're here.
Yes.
And I identify with the fact that, say, why don't people understand community?
Yeah.
It's so frustrating and so hard, and like we're only trying to build good
Yes.
things, right?
Yes. Yes. Well, I have to say, I have to qualify that I am looking at it from my very uniquely American perspective, because I sadly do not live in the UK. So I don't have that perspective. So this is very much an American perspective from working at large enterprise tech companies and startup tech companies. So that's going to inform that. But I'm hoping that people will want to chime in and say yes or no, or whatever do they want to say. But I think we've been told for so long, and I have found myself too, as a community manager, having to explain. And so I've really put it under the microscope and looked at a bunch of different things, and I'm hoping that it to change hearts and minds. Basically, that's my goal. Whether that happens, I don't know, but I'm going to try.
Good on you for going for it, Lori. I mean, we got to keep banging the drum, don't we? And it's hard, right? It's hard. And I was reflecting actually earlier on today. I can't remember if it's a conversation with you, Rosie, or one of my other colleagues. I think it's with another colleague. It's like we as community professionals who see lots of stuff, right? And we can join the dots that perhaps community members might not be able to, because they're not living and breathing what we do day in, day out. That kind of challenge of like, when someone gets the value of being part of a community, it's like they have to go through that process, and then they get these light bulb moments. We see it a lot with our community members where they're like, oh, I get it now. I didn't get it before, but now I get it. And it's like, for members, I find that really interesting. Yet, I mean, I'm in a very fortunate position that the Motiverse is run by Rosie, who's community, right? So it's okay. I personally don't have to convince her of the benefit of community. But I can imagine for many community managers out there that it's like, it's so clear how community connect everything. Community is care. Community can bring all the different parts of an organization together and be like the glue that joins it all up and thinks like a system and connects things. So yeah, I can really appreciate the challenge you're expressing there, Lauren. I'm looking forward to reading the blog. I'd love to read it if it's going to be a public blog.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I will have it on my website, and I will have it on LinkedIn, and I've got a whole bunch of other things that I want to talk about. So I'm going to talk about metrics, which is like, because I'm a data nerd. So I've got some ideas about that, and I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to, talk more about AI and lots of other issues that we as community managers face, and how can we work together.
what are your current views on metrics, or what are the important metrics do you feel in today's world? I guess and has it changed recently? Just with how the world is changing.
Well, this is my perspective.
Yeah.
We need our own metrics. That's my perspective. I love that we pull from marketing and we pull from customer success, but what I'm going to do is suggest that we have our own and give some background as to why I think so. And AI will be a part of that too, because I think, um, as someone with a background in cybersecurity, I'm a bit skeptical, and I use two different AI tools. I've used a lot of them, but for my meat and potatoes, one's incredibly safe, and the other is I don't know. So I want to measure AI as well. Thus far, you know, I've got some ideas. So, but the jury's still out on AI. I think there are things we can use it for, and I think that they can be useful. And I think there are things we might not want to use it for. So, yeah. So those are like the two big ones. And then I want to talk about the metrics we use and things like that. So I've got a lot to talk about, I guess.
That's great. You made me think, Lori, about I don't know whether we start a list. I love a good list. Like where AI is helpful for community managers / community professionals, and where it's not so helpful. And maybe there's a scale or something that we come up with as a community, and we share examples where it has been helpful, and we share examples where we're like, oh, no, like this didn't work out. Or we share like, this was an absolute no for like using AI with our community. That would be quite interesting.
Yeah, I want to do that. I'm thinking about doing some other things around that and talking to different community managers about it. But yeah, I think we do need to, because eventually we need to talk about some kind of standardization. I don't think I think that's a very realistic and good thing to do. So I would like to talk about that. I know I do see on a couple of the sites that I'm part of, I do see some things that people are using it for, and it's mostly automation of manual tasks. Like what I've used it for is, surface the highest performing content, that sort of thing. Help me automate this workflow. When no real personalization is needed with a certain user segment, then automate I'm obviously automating the emails during the nurturing campaigns, but things like that. But yeah, I think that would be a great topic to discuss sometime. And I'm happy to share too in Rosie Land or wherever what I've seen thus far, kind of aggregate it and put something together if you want.
Yeah, be great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Consider it done.
In community AI this week, I built a spam bot.
Nice.
So that's been really helpful. Again, it's one of those tasks that take up a lot of time or some time. So it probably saves me 2 hours a week. And it just it doesn't do the work, but it produces a report which turns like a 20-minute task into like a 2-minute task.
That's
And it's pretty accurate at the moment, and spam is a big problem. Our community is to participate, you need to to mostly participate, you need to be a pro member. But one of the reasons we get spam is partly because we've been around a long time, but also people can kind of create their own kind of bio page, and obviously wherever you can put a link, you then at some point become a target for spam. But I've worked in previous places that don't clean that kind of stuff up, and I just feel like it's really important to keep it clean and keep the obvious fake accounts out. So yeah, it's a thing I take seriously, and these are the little things that people don't see behind the scenes. But I'm not going to go into detail how it works because then might get abused. But the point is, we have a daily report that reports on data that we have, activity, and it helps us just get rid of the spam pretty efficiently, I would say. And yeah, because we build our own platform as well, we don't have fancy AI moderation tools or any moderation tools really. It's we're building it bit by bit. So some of these things might be standard in some community platforms, but it's not for us. So we're figuring out what makes sense, and we're always improving as we're going. But yeah, I do like AI to some extent. But yeah, we share a meme internally of it's a kombucha girl where she's all happy about something, and then she's like then questioning it. So that's kind of our AI feelings daily. Sometimes we feel great about it, and other times we don't.
Yeah, I hear you. I have very mixed feelings about it. And I have lots of guardrails around it right now. I think it's still very early, and I think the caveat that comes with every AI tool is AI can make mistakes along these lines. Please verify. So I do take that to heart. But I love hearing about what people build. People are, I have colleagues that are making really cool things, and I love learning about it and asking for demos and that sort of thing. And so, yeah, I mean, we're in terra incognita right now, which is very yin yang. I mean, there's opportunities to try new stuff, and there's opportunities to test, and we get to make up our minds 50 times in a minute if we want about it. So I don't know. I think it's on one level very refreshing. So
I can share a this week in AI community example. So over the last week, this is like the simplest of skills I created, but it's just saves a few seconds, and I kind of like something that just creates a bit of efficiency. So we have videos in our community, and with that comes transcript, and then we can also enable chapters, so time-stamped chapters. So I built a skill, it was the end of last week, I think, where instead of us having to manually copy and paste those individual fields that say it's this timestamp, this timestamp, this timestamp with the description, there's like essentially 26 fields, for example, that you'd have to copy and then paste into an article. I get this Claude skill to just go and do that for me, and it's one of those silly little ones where it's like there's no need to do this manually. We just get the skill to do it, and it's those little wins that can help, which kind of makes my inner tech geek feel very good about those efficiencies. Rosie, should we have Lori? Please do stick around on stage. We're just going to jump into the chat to see what's been happening, if that's okay. So yeah, Rosie, what are we seeing in the chat? What are
Fiona Parker's there.
Oh, cool.
So Fiona says, I was part of a great online community once for over 2 years, over 1,000 people, and it fell apart because of only a few newcomers who ran riot and the owners of the community, in an attempt at truth and authenticity, wouldn't put boundaries in until it was too late. And I think we've all probably got those experiences, and I think it's part of like kind of what Lori was also saying, is that people don't understand what community is, and and it gets abused constantly. Christina Garnett was talking about takers this week, people who come in and take, and she also wrote a post about community cannibalism, is what she called it, which I think is also super interesting. I'll drop the link in the chat in a second. But I think this, this is also kind of tied into the whole thing of people not understanding community and being in a very capitalistic society. But yeah, the boundaries are so important. Simon and I kind of refer to it as layers of care, like the things we have to put in place to protect us. And it's not just people. Like now it's AI, right? Like AI spam bots are like overtaking everything. And like as we've been building up our platform, we're building all these features. It's a bit social media like, it's a bit blogging like, it's a bit this, it's a bit that. You could post links, you could like blog essentially, and originally like anyone could do that. But the more that went on, I was like, oh, this I feel a bit uncomfortable about this with the way AI is going, and just the fact that we know we have spam accounts signing up, and there were no guardrails in place to stop someone from posting. So we put boundaries in place, and like the biggest and scariest boundary we actually put in was now making it so that you have to be a pro member to participate in a meaningful way. So to post anything, to even like submit to contribute, kind of caught some of our members off guard. But it's essentially like our message is saying we want to work with people that care about us, because everything we do is to give that care back to them. And if you allow too many people in, it's just not sustainable if it's all for free. And I guess like our goal is to have less work and for our work to be directly with the members that care. And sometimes, like Christina talks about it in her articles, people come in and they take advantage, and that can be on so many levels. So there's the AI level, there's the member level, there's the people that take advantage of like just the fact that community is so giving that they just manipulate that, I guess. And the example Christina was talking about was like Book Talk, where someone was trying to trademark that name. And it's just wrong, right? People come in and just think they think for themselves over the community and everything the community is trying to do, and it's hard, and it's so complicated, and like yeah, it's I don't know, it's like I've almost I guess named it as people feel entitled to take from community, and I don't know why that is. They think they can come in and take without giving first. And maybe that's our fault as community builders. I don't think it is really, but like sometimes I think, is it my fault? Like, but like this is a challenge we have, and it causes many tears.
It does, and it's it's so complicated as well, because we want to. I think as community professionals, we want maximum value for members, right? That's kind of the ultimate goal, where a member can come, they can find themselves, they can achieve what they want to achieve with the community in the way that works for them. Yet also, to your point, Rosie, is that realize that they're with other people in that community. So there's kind of things that have to be put in place to make it a space where everyone can benefit, everyone can, get real value from that experience. I was trying to link it back to something one of our community members and I were talking about. So we have a thing called Call for Insights, and it's just two people on a conversation. It's recorded, goes back out to the community. And this person, Ash, we were talking about high value activity. And we were trying to say, how do you define your high value activity? And I think, community as care, like when we really drill down into what that looks like, that is high value activity that we do as community professionals. Like to your point, Rosie, we want to be working and collaborating with people that get it and are up for it and understand the power of community. We don't want to be wasting our time with bad actors and just drain our energy. We don't want to be working with those people. So it's like, what systems can we put in place so we reduce the chance of those bad actors ever getting into the community, ever participating and spotting them early? And that's tricky, right? That's really tricky. Because we want to be collaborating with people who are up for it. That's the real value. And we love it when that happens in our community. Like some people who are just so up for collaborating, they're so straightforward to work with. We have a saying internally called the R test, where you're just like, that's straightforward, like relief. We're working with that person, just very straightforward, mutual appreciation of each other. They're just up for it. They get it. And then that makes our processes easier, because we just working with good people makes things a lot more straightforward. So the opposite of that is like the no, like how is this person sort of dominating the community and doing things where we're like, they're not participating in a way that's helpful. Oh, cheers, Rosie, for sharing the link for those following along in the chat. It's a good one. Yeah, I can see Ujwal. Good to see you, Ujwal. Wonderful to see you here. My first LinkedIn webinar on Continuous Meetup Group is on 24th June on the same topic, how community is going to shape our career in the current era when every answer is available instantly on AI. Oh, that's a great topic. Love it.
It's a lot of change, right? And that's what I feel. It's like, not just for community, not just for quality, or every industry is probably going under these changes. It's like, what does our future look like? And yeah, just like I often look back to like pre-pandemic. 2019 is like the year I hold in my head. It's like, wasn't life so simple back then? It didn't feel it when we were in that moment, but yeah, life felt simple back then, and everything's changing. We have to question everything again, right? We have to think like we have to change. As that if we did things the same way we did things in 2019, 2010, whatever year you want to pick, it just wouldn't work, right? The strategies wouldn't work, and obviously AI is the thing, the elephant in the room, that is causing a lot more chaos. And what does that mean? And it's impacting community hugely. It's impacting what we come for. And maybe that's why we're having these conversations as well, because it's like, with AI in the world, this feels like a good investment into my career. I look back on this and I think that was a good thing to spend time on. That this is a high value activity, right? Getting together, talking, sticking it up on YouTube, having a reference to it, committing to showing up and meeting people, talking about ideas. But yeah.
It makes me think about, like, I don't know whether there was ever a traditional set of skills a community professional needed to be successful as a community professional, but I wonder if those like core skills are changing. And I think to your point, Rosie, about being able to innovate being creative, being able to accept change rapidly. And maybe that is beyond our role as community professionals or community managers or community leaders. Like others will also face this, but maybe it's useful for us to start defining that. Because I think systems thinking is essential for us. Like being able to go, there's a load of stuff happening over here, there's a load of stuff happening over there, there's a load of stuff over there. How are they all interconnected in some way? How can we join the dots? And then how can we build systems that respect those different parts of a system happening as well? I also think critical thinking is essential. And to your point, Lori, earlier around like we can question stuff and it's okay to question stuff and not just take stuff at face value. I think we have to be able to critically think, not in like a negative nitpicking way where we're pulling apart everything just for the sake of it, but like really ask some hard questions, but in a collaborative way. And so, yeah, systems thinking, critical thinking, creativity, that ability to adapt to change. I wonder what else we could add to that list. I'm sure there's plenty more.
I think of simplification or problem solving. It's like partly it relates to like the R test kind of stuff. It's like we have to change how we're doing things. MOT, we're always looking for ways to improve what we're doing. What can we get rid of? What needs changing? What needs removing? How does that impact the whole system? And sometimes it looks easy, but it's not. There's a lot of little bits that kind of impact things. I mean, like even just like last week, switching from audio to video for This Week in Quality, we didn't quite anticipate that there were like some problems that would end up delaying the production, the recording production of it afterwards. And it's like, oh, we didn't think of this bit and that bit, but it's fine. It's a learning process, right? But it's like, I'm quite inspired by how we are somewhat simplifying, at least. Less tools is like one way to look at it. It's like we're always looking at what tools can we get rid of? Do we really need those tools? Is that just slowing us down? And I think the more tools you have in your stack, it not only slows you down, but it stops you from seeing the system.
It's so true. It's so true. I'll add to that as well, where I haven't quite found the word for it yet, but I don't know if it's bravery, maybe it's bravery, but it's nonchalance, it's probably the wrong word. But my example is where we're pretty fast when it comes to changing, particularly when it comes to changing our platform and just going with a new initiative. Like we don't tend to just, do a survey with the community, or we don't consult hundreds of people and get consensus and all that stuff. We're usually like, that sounds like a good idea. We've got a bit of a sense that folks are interested in that. Let's go for it. Minimal way of getting something out. It could be an event type. It could be a new type of thing that we do with the community, whatever. So it's that sense of like, I'm not going to say not giving a shit, because that sounds wrong, because we care, we genuinely care, but not overthinking the consequences of doing something different or changing something that has to satisfy every community member, all of their needs, all of their goals, ambitions, because we might annoy some people. They might go, don't get it, or that doesn't feel right. But I think as people who have oversight of the community and are thinking in terms of systems, we might be able to see things that members might not. They might be just focused on a certain part of the community. So it's being bold, I guess. Maybe it is bravery, audacity. Maybe that's the word. We like to be audacious and just go for it without thinking, oh goodness, what are the consequences? And we're not going to be flippant. We're not going to be risky where we will take advantage of things or do things we shouldn't. Of course, that goes without saying. But it's more like, it's being audacious. I think that's the word I'm trying to land on.
I love the audacious word. Even just using the word helps me be audacious. Like I say it out loud. I'm like, I'm going to be audacious, and I say, yeah, let's do it. We got this. And I also think that comes as like being scared to do stuff is perhaps holding us back as community people. Like we don't want to upset people's opinions, and of course we should care, but maybe sometimes we care too much. If the care is not reciprocated, which often it isn't, like people, um, will show up and state their opinion, and then they'll come back 6 or 12 months later and say, does that opinion actually matter that much, right? But sometimes we'll take it to heart and we'll say, oh, this person said this. We should, can we do that because this person said that? And like I, I guess like the understanding of community is like we have often we feel like community members should own the community, but actually I've kind of gone off that kind of whole angle. Is like it's like no, the community members don't own a community. Sure, they can contribute it. Sure, we can help them and we can facilitate things or do things to help them contribute to it. But if they really own something, then they have to be responsible for it as well. And they're not actually responsible for it, right? They don't have to pay salaries. They don't have to pay the costs. They don't have to do all the legal work and all the immense things. It's like that's what comes with ownership. Yet communities are always saying is that, well, we as members we own the community. This is for us. But it it just to me it doesn't make sense. So I've kind of gone off that that idea that we of course respect community members. We care as much as we can about them. We are trying to serve our industry or our ecosystem, and we're doing what we can to contribute it. And we as founders, as employees, at the end of the day, we're the ones that are responsible for the decisions that we make. And often that's not what the community members want to hear, but quite often it is as well. But it's treading that fine line of how much do you listen to people, and also being audacious enough to know that actually we've done the work because we're in the community every day. The community members are not in the community every day. I mean, they might show up every day for a little bit and then go off and live their lives, but no one else shows up in the community like me and Simon do, for example, because it's our jobs, right? And when we show up every day like this, we get insights that no one else has, and therefore we have to make decisions based on those insights. And we can't always explain ourselves, and we shouldn't have to as well. So when we say we're audacious, really, it's like partly I think, yes, we're being audacious to help us make those decisions, but actually it's not really being audacious. It's just perhaps doing the right thing.
Totally. Lori, you mentioned in the chat, yes to systems thinking and critical thinking. Resilience is crucial too, in my honest opinion. Well, I'd love to hear a bit more of that. Feel free, we can bring you back on stage, Lori, if you like, and you can talk a little bit more about, resilience. What are your thoughts on that?
I think we have to, you were talking about being audacious. I think that's part of resilience. I think we have to, everything is changing so quickly, and being able to maintain some sort of centeredness as we try to, rapidly adopt AI, as we learn new things, as demands on us change from within the community and from management. So that's a big part of it. And, also how we change in relation to those things and other forces that I just don't have the mind, the presence of mind right now to name. But I think that it's really important. And also, as community people, supporting our colleagues with that. Because I know that there are folks that are really struggling right now with, having something, figure it out, adopt it, figure it out, figure out how to make it work. I've heard a lot of that recently. So, resilience is a thing, and how to roll with it, and then how to be audacious too. I don't know. That's just what I think.
Appreciate you sharing, Lori. That's great. How to roll with it. I like that line. And it's interesting, isn't it, when someone's like just told, I'll just figure it out, make it work. It's like without some sort of support structure or framework, or at least, some leadership in place to support that individual to figure it out and make it work. That's scary stuff, right? For a lot of us community people, when that can happen, or if that happens, totally get that. Fiona shares a wonderful comment, which I'm going to read out. So Fiona Parker shares, yes, Rosie, well said. It sounds so good on paper, but doesn't survive the reality of humanness. Only people with skin in the game should make the big decisions. I would never again invest in any community where the leaders don't own their power. It's unsafe. Yeah, I got it.
I love the own the power, right? And I think that's why a lot of communities have failed. It's like we don't actually have the influence and ability to make the decisions. And that's why things get shut down everywhere. But yeah, it's I don't know what to say. It's like I hope, I still live in hope that communities will get better. And is it happening? Kind of. Sometimes I see rays of light. But yeah, I guess like I'm also seeing like how people are changing their thinking about community as well. And I think that's a positive thing. So we hope that, I hope that we can open our minds to what community is, but it does come with that kind of, I don't know why I'm scared to say authority, but yeah, authority, like, I guess like CEO should be the community, the community, what do I call it? The community executive officer. So like I am the CEO, but I am also the community executive officer. They go hand in hand.
I agree, Rosie, and I think it's okay to use the word authority, because I think for us, that professionals who are living and breathing it, we build that authority over hours and hours of practice, hours and hours of consumption. We don't become experts instantly. We might, folks who are entering the industry may accelerate their expertise through support with AI and all that stuff, of course. Yet through like the living and breathing this stuff, community people do have an authority to talk about how community is so powerful and how it can really, really change an organization. And I think, as we were talking earlier today, actually, like at the senior leadership level, that sense of outsourcing community to someone else feels like a missed opportunity. Like we really see the benefit of you being the CEO of a community run business, having chats with members and non-members on a podcast. Like for you, that is amazing research. You're researching the community, and every time you have a conversation, we do all sorts of stuff with those conversations. It benefits us as an organization. It benefits the person who's had that experience of being on the podcast. It raises their profile, gets their voice out there, helps them articulate ideas, which springboards to more things. So yeah, at CEO level, having those conversations is just so valuable. It's absolute gold. It really is.
And that's community, right? And it's like, It's everywhere. You can't separate it. So, how can we get better at talking about it? How can we get better at building it with that kind of mindset? And I don't think most people are quite thinking about community in that way yet. And I'm not sure people can unless it's the CEO aspect, the community executive officer type aspect is it has to come from the top, right? Yeah. Otherwise, it'll just get cut at some point. Someone will make a decision and say, "Oh, we don't need that." But yeah, I was just writing down as I wrote down a note. It's like I'm so inspired of the possibilities at the moment of community, and a lot of this is down to the work we're doing at the moment in the Motiverse. Is that I see so many possibilities, and it looks nothing like community, at least that I've seen. But I see the possibilities of how we can build community. But at the same time, it still feels so hard to get over that hurdle. Is like, why can't people see the value yet of what we do? And maybe that comes with time, but it's balancing those feelings of, oh my God, we're doing so many amazing things. We're kicking butt in so many ways. We can see it as leaders, but then our role is then like, oh shit, we have to get other people to see it. How do we actually get people to see it? And that's the hard part, right? The easy part is, well, it's not easy, but the easier part is knowing that you can do it and building some of the things. The hard part is what comes next. Is like doing the work. Is like, okay, how do we do the work? How do we get people to see? And that's like, it's hard enough to convince one person to do one thing sometimes, and we have to convince thousands. And I say, oh my goodness, what have we done? Why are we doing this?
Yeah, totally. I wonder, and this is maybe a rhetorical question to wrap up today's This Week in Community, is the word community tainted? I don't think we need to answer it now, but I do wonder if the word community's been on a journey, right? And I think it continues to be on a journey in different contexts. I wonder if there's for us professionals to take back ownership as to what it actually means, what community really means. One to think about. It's quite a heavy question, right? To finish an episode on.
It's a good thing we're finishing on it, because otherwise we might go on for another hour.
That's it. Brilliant. Well, shall we wrap up there today, Rosie? I think we should.
Yeah. We did it. First episode out the door. Whoop,
All
whoop.
right.
Yeah, we'll be back this time next week. We'll keep improving our community processes, podcast and event processes. But yeah, the idea is same time every week. We will mostly be here. And yeah, we'll see you next week. And this will go up on YouTube at some point, but not yet. Hopefully by next week. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we'll speak to you all soon, folks. And a big shout out to everyone who's joined the first official This Week in Community, and people getting involved in the chat. We're loving it. And very nice to hear from Lori joining us up on stage. Bye for now.